All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's been a second, but I wanted to pop on here and just share something because unfortunately, it is really easy to make 100K per month as a health creator, especially in 2026. And in all honesty, the market is potentially even getting saturated. So while I plug in my charger, give me one. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down honestly a pretty simple email series that converts really well for these type of health offers. So again, the market is getting a little bit more saturated now at this point in the game, at this point of the year. I think it's definitely worth it to kind of focus on this stuff if you're a health creator, if you're a health coach. So yeah, let's kind of dive into it. Again, if you're new around here, my name is Cameron. I've worked with a ton of health creators over the last 4 years and have been in the copywriting space and marketing space, online offers and coaching space really for over the last 10 years. I've generated over $13 million in client results. And at this point, I've worked with a ton of people, as I mentioned. So really what I make these videos for is to really just share what's working right now, what's worked before, how I think about marketing, how I think about detoxification, health offers, really just document the journey and just share some recent wins that we've been having personally. If you guys want to see more of that, just let me know. Obviously help you get 100K or add 100K to your top line. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive into it. So I think we talked about the last time I did one of these videos, I was talking about the low ticket offers. And so I kind of want to pick that up a little bit. So basically timeline plus outcome is your offer, so 14 days and the outcome being a health reset, right? So that's kind of how I think about low ticket offers. Again, depending on what your process is, it might be totally different. Like a 14-day process might not make sense for someone who is I talked to a pharmacologist and he was mentioning that, he does a specific genome test for each client. So he can't really diagnose a 14-day process for someone. So, it might not always make sense, but at the end of the day, you do have there is always a way to package what you do. That being said, to make these offers convert really well, there's a few things you want to kind of do around it that ascends them into a higher ticket package. So let's dive into a little bit of that, what that is. Essentially, the way you lay out your course videos. So this is kind of like the process I would think of in terms of like how the course actually works, how it's produced. I talk to other creators and for some reason they kind of struggle with this, like how to put together their course for some reason. So I kind of want to break this down, right? So essentially, I would have a few videos just going over the introduction, like introducing them into what this process is. Here's all the materials, here's the supplements you might need to buy, or here's like how to get set up for the next 14 days. So you want some type of introduction video. You're probably going to want a prep phase. And what I did with another creator I worked with was I kind of like blocked off this little introduction section, and we actually had locked off the rest of the course before they could complete the rest of the course. Before there's a platform called Mighty Networks, just like this, Mighty Networks, that you can actually kind of like lock videos. I think Kajabi does it as well. You can lock course videos to make sure that people go through the course or at least mark it as complete, before moving on to the next video. So we actually locked the rest of the course before they completed the introduction and the prep phase. And after that, then we were able to, they're allowed to kind of start the process as like a kickoff. So that's kind of what we did with day 1 through 7 or 14 or 21. And here's the cool part. And this is really what I wanted to share over the last 3 videos of this whole series. This is like the core idea of what I had in mind for sharing something that would be something that would be of value to you. So once they go through this phase, one thing you can do to kind of like help them go through this process, and again, we want to optimize for consumption. So with all the information out there, we want to optimize for consuming the actual information, consuming the course. So again, that's even this little trick here will probably help you with consumption quite a bit. But what you can do before that is you can have two different email series that go out. And why email? Well, just because email is like another remarketing platform. It's just a very high touch point, I guess you can say, where someone kind of like learns about you and they just have a better access to you, in my personal opinion. So you can have two email phases. Basically, one that like sends an email to them every day until they complete this process. It could be like, hey, make sure you complete, first obviously congrats, a welcome email. And then after that, it can be like, introduction email. So intro, make sure you go watch the course video. So you're kind of recapping how your content is in the email marketing and like walking them really, really intentionally, making sure that they go through the content, that they understand what this is about, that they remind them of the dream outcome that they signed up for. Like people don't get results unless they actually go through the course. You can even throw out the stat of like, most people who buy courses actually never go through the course. There's about 70% or something like that. I think there's a statistic out there that you can find. Actually, matter of fact, let's just find it real quick. Right, so just AI is telling us only about 15 to 40% of people who paid for online course actually finish it. So you can throw that stat around. Only about 80. Well, okay, that's pretty good. So if you're doing a live cohort, it's about 89%. That's why I prefer live cohorts. But yeah, so about 40% of people actually go through a course. Don't be one of those statistics. You can say it like that, and yeah, you can do a whole email series to get them to consume the content and actually go through and then have a tracker that tracks when are they going through the content, yes or no. And then as soon as they complete the first phase, the intro phase, then boom, an automation triggers and they'll start going through your protocol, which is the 14-day protocol, whatever it is. Again, this can be applied across even a business opportunity niche, your 14-day jump start, how to launch a low ticket offer in 14 days, for example, if I were to put one together, or like, really, yeah, basically like that, right? So any type of process, again, we already recapped it over the last 3 videos, but basically any type of process that you can package, you can put your process into a 14-day. 14-day I really like, 7-day, 8-day, 9-day, 10-day is also a really good number too. So then they start their 10-day process, whatever outcome you sell in a 10-day format. They start their 10-day outcome-based process. And here is when we have emails. So again, email 1 is day 1, email 2 is day 2, day 3, 4, 5, so on and so on. And this is a very, very powerful email series. It was just very, very powerful. This again was a brain baby of my own. And yeah, when I put this together with one of my first clients, it just converted really, really well. And yeah, that thing has just been running in the background ever since. So it's been a control that we put this together. So anyways, in terms of your course content, obviously you have a day 1 through 10, whatever video series with supplemental guides or however you want to put that together, or maybe it's a live cohort or however you want to do it. Then you have like an outro and an upsell video, which will then either book a call with you or your team, or we'll have some type of intro offer, or sorry, upsell offer, like a 1K or 2K, 5K program, depending on who you're selling to, So that's as far as the course is concerned. That's basically how I set up the 14-day process, the 10-day process, your timeline outcome-based info product. The email series is super important as well. I want to talk about these last two because the last two are actually really, really important. The first ones, all we're doing is sort of similar, like I mentioned. We're optimizing for consumption because the more time they can spend with you, the more they can consume the content with you, the higher chance of them actually wanting to get a higher level of support from you, right? So nothing else. We don't sell hard. We're not doing some crazy pitch fest. We're not doing this nightmare story. We can do a little bit of that in the intro. But during the process, we're literally like pointing them back to the course video, pointing them back to the resource video, pointing them back to the resource itself, talking a little bit about, what tends to happen around day 7 of this course, what tends to happen what are some of the problems, highlighting some of the wins. We're really optimizing, like getting them stoked to go through the process to get their outcome. Because if they have a good experience with this process with you, there's also a good chance that they actually just refer it naturally, and you could just grow like hyper scale with word of mouth. It's honestly one of the best business models, is to grow with word of mouth, right? So that's also something that you can do. And yeah, so the last two, let's come back to this. So the last 2 emails in this series. So now they went through the process, they went through the 10-day thing, they got their dream outcome, hopefully. You can do a few things towards the end, obviously pointing them to the upsell video and kind of like really doing a hard pitch. But yeah, this is actually where you can pitch pretty hard, especially in the last one. How I normally like to phrase these is like, this one will be like, what's next? And like my final email to you. So that's normally how I kind of, think about the email in these last 2 emails. So it's like, okay, here's what happens next. Here's typically what happens next. You can do a 3-option close on them. You say like, you have 3 options now. At this point, you just completed this course. You can go through it, use the process again. You can do nothing and just revert back to old habits, or you can get our help and ingrain these habits into your life for a longer time period. Book a call here. That's what we'll talk about and see if this makes sense for you. Boom. And then the last one's like my last email to you. And this one is important, okay? So this last one has always been actually our highest clicked email. Believe it or not, it's actually been the highest clicked email. And it's been the longest email. I was actually surprised when I looked at the data on this email, because it was super long. Like the email that I wrote for this in the series that I put this together with, and the ones that I do, they're like 500-word emails basically, which is still like a pretty hefty email. Even like 300 emails these days, 300-word emails these days are still like on the longer side in my personal opinion. So it was like a heavy email, and really what it was like explaining everything that tends to happen with your offer, essentially, like why your offer exists. So the way I phrase it, the way I structure this email rather, is, here's what everyone who I work with has struggled with. Here's what everyone tries. Here's why it doesn't work. Here's what to do instead. And this is why I do what I do. This is why this is so important to me. This is why, we've gotten so many case studies. And this is why I want you to book a call. This will be my last email to you about this for a little while. And then we actually kind of like, don't really market it in that way. This is the last time I'm going to be talking about this in this way. We kind of say something like that. So now's your chance to actually move the needle on this in your life. It's a hard belief shift. It's a hard CTA. It's a very transformational style of marketing that I create. So yeah, guys, hopefully this was helpful. I don't want to ramble on too long. I just wanted to give you the sauce. And that's it. That's it for really this core email series, how I structure these 14-day, 10-day, 12-day, 21-day protocols, blueprint, processes, courses, low-ticket offers. And yeah, hopefully you go out and use this, and hopefully it helps you make 100K in the next 30 to 45 days, depending on how fast you can put this together, put the tech side of things together. So that being said, obviously, if you want my help putting something together like this, feel free to book a call. There'll be a calendar down below, and you can find a time on the calendar, and we can chat a little bit about cooking something like this up for yourself, and maybe even chat about some of your email series. And yeah, so that's it for this video. Just wanted to make it a super quick one, and hopefully we got it done on time. And that's it. We'll hopefully chat soon. Cheers. Peace.